Okay, we're still working on the third quarter review, and I just wanted to show you one other method for problem number 8 before we go to the next page. So another method that people like is they take the exponent, 295, and they divide it by 4. Alright, so when you divide by 4, you're going to get 70, let's see, 28, 15, 73, and 0.75. And so it's this part, the 0.75, that tells you which of the 4 answers it is. So remember, you have this circle, and in the circle your answers might be 1 or I or -1 or -I. And the part after the decimal here, that tells you which of these answers it is. So if it was just 73 even, that would be the answer 1. If it was a 0.25 answer, your final answer is I. If it's a 0.5, your final answer is -1. And if it's a 0.75, your answer is -I. So after you divide it by 4 and you find the 0.75, now you know your answer is -I. Same answer, just a different method. Alright, let's go to the next page. So we need to simplify this fourth root here. We're going to start by breaking up the 324. So if I divide it by 4, I get 4 times 81, and the 4 is 2 times 2, and the 81 is 9 times 9, which is going to be 3, 3, 3, 3. So anything that shows up 4 times is going to come out of the root. Alright, and I still have 2 times 2, which is 4, inside my root. Next, x squared is not big enough to come out. You need 4 or something to come out, so the x squared is stuck here. The y to the 11, some of that's going to come out, so you want to take out the biggest multiple of 4 you can. So I have 4, 8, 12. 12 is too big, so I'm going to make it y to the 8, and because it has to make 11 altogether, times y to the 3. And then 16 does divide by 4, so z to the 16 is fine. Alright, then you still have a 3 on the outside, and when you take out this here, you have y to the 8, you do 8 divided by 4, that gives you y squared, and now that's gone. And then next you do 16 divided by 4, that gives you z to the 4, and now that's gone. And so everything that's not crossed off is left underneath your fourth root. So I still have 4x squared and y to the 3rd. Okay, in the next one, when you have the square root of a negative, remember that will come out as the imaginary number I. And then I also have the square root of x to the 5th, so I need to simplify that. So I have 3I. Because I took the negative out, that's gone. I have 2, and I can do the square root of x to the 4. So I'm going to change my x to the 5 to be x to the 4 times x to the 1. Plus, I have 32, so I can make a number graph here for 32, 16 times 2, and that's going to be 4 times 4, which I could break up more, but actually I already have 2 4s, so I'm just going to leave those and take that out. And then the negative is going to be an I, so that will be 4I. And then underneath it, I still have a 2. And again, this x to the 5th, I can make that x to the 4 times x to the 1. So bring down 3I. The square root of x to the 4 is x squared, so that's coming out. And then I still have x squared. So 3I x squared, and then I have 2x plus 4i. Again, you have x squared come out, and you have 2x. So these are like terms, 3i x squared root 2x and 4i x squared root 2x. So they combine to give you 7i x squared root 2x. Alright, to solve a quadratic equation, you could try to factor it, but there are no numbers that add to, that multiply to 10 and add to -6. So I'm stuck with quadratic formula, which I will put here. X equals -b plus or minus the square root b squared minus 4ac over 2a. Alright, so x equals -b, your b is already negative, so it turns positive, plus or minus the square root. B squared, the square of -6 is positive 36, minus 4 times a, which is 1, times 10, over 2a, so 2 times 6. Nope, your a is 1. Sorry about that. 2 times 1. Alright, this gives me 36 minus 40, which is -4 for my discriminant. So I have 6 plus or minus the square root of -4 over 2. Square root of -4 is 2i. So I have 6 plus or minus 2i over 2, and then you need to divide both terms by 2 to get 3 plus or minus I. Over here, you might be tempted to use the quadratic formula again, and you can do that if you like. But this is also a good time to practice your factoring when your lead coefficient is not 1. So to do that, you need two numbers that multiply to 12, but add to -11. So if I start with 1 times -12, I actually found it on the very first step. So you take the -11x and you change it to 1x minus 12x, bring down the -3, bring down the 4x squared. So the first two terms both have x, so I'm going to factor x out as a common factor, 4x plus 1, and the second two can be divided by -3, and I still get 4x plus 1. So one of my factors is 4x plus 1, and the other one is what you're multiplying by, x and -3. So once you have it factored, you set your factors equal to 0. You have 4x plus 1 equals 0, and subtract the 1. 4x equals -1, and then divide by 4. So one answer is -1/4. The other one, if you add 3, you get x equals 3. So you have a set of answers, -1/4 and 3. Alright, in number 13, you need to isolate the square root before you solve by squaring. So I'm going to get rid of -5 with +5. And then the square root is times 4, so we're going to divide by 4 to get rid of that. So x minus 1 in a square root equals 3. And then to get rid of the square root, you want to square both sides. So that cancels out, and I have x minus 1 equals 9. And adding 1 to both sides, you get x equals 10. Now you want to plug the 10 back in to make sure that this makes this true. So let's check over here. 4 square root 10 minus 1 minus 5 equals 7. Well, 10 minus 1 is 9, and the square root of 9 is 3. So it's 4 times 3 minus 5 equals 7. 12 minus 5 equals 7. So it is checking, and this is your answer right here, x equals 10. Okay, next one, to find the inverse of the function. Remember that f of x is a fancy way to say y. So what you want to do is switch the x and y. So this one becomes x, and then this one becomes y. So to get the y by itself, you first subtract 5 on both sides. So x minus 5 equals square root y minus 9. And then when you square both sides, it gets a little tricky because we need to multiply x minus 5 times x minus 5. And that gives us y minus 9. So I have x squared minus 5x makes minus 10x. Minus 5 times minus 5 is plus 25. Alright, and finally you're going to add 9 to both sides. Plus 9, plus 9. The y will be by itself, and I get y equals x squared minus 10x plus 34.